That's a big game for Cincinnati, too, don't you think?
Yeah.
That's a big game for Cincinnati as well, because if you look at the AFC standings, it is possible that Cincinnati could wind up being your 2 seed. Okay? If they win and the Chiefs lose in Denver.
Right. With tiebreaker.
Or, the Bills are taking on the Jets. If they lose that, they wind up as the 4 seed. I don't know if I'd want to face the New England Patriots my first playoff game. I mean, it's tough to win in your first playoff game, and here comes Bill and Mac Jones. Mac versus Joey. The possibilities are amazing. But I'm curious to see how the Browns respond tonight, having been eliminated, and then next week too, and how Baker can try and plant the flag on 2 teams as they go out the door of the season that was a patent disappointment, just a total disappointment.
Baker's got a lot to play for personally.
I think so too.
I mean, he's trying to ink up and lock in a long-term deal there.
How about Myles Garrett saying he's in a slump? He hasn't had a sack in 2 games.
I think for him, that's considered a slump, right?
That's a slump for him. I can't wait to see what the Browns look like tonight, because what a season it was. I mean, they started out in a game. I mean, let's just do this real quick, because I kind of want to sum up the Browns season. We all know they start that game in Kansas City, and they're up and then lose late against the Chiefs team that we know if you wanted to get them while they get this good first 7 weeks. Browns had them and couldn't finish it off. Then there was that home game against the Texans. Remember that Davis Mills came in and made a game of it? Mm-hmm. Then they play the Chicago Bears, and that, as we know, no slump for Myles Garrett. I think he had half of his sacks in that game of Justin Fields. They go to Minnesota, and they can't put points on the board. They play the Chargers. All they could do was put points on the board, but they couldn't stop the Chargers from putting points on the board. They play the Arizona Cardinals at home, and that was a dreadful day as well. 37-14. They just get spanked. They play the Cardinals at the wrong time, but they also didn't have many answers. Then comes that game against Denver where, Baker Mayfield is hurt because J.J. Watt knocked him out of that game. It was the Case Keenum might be better conversation. That was what we were going through all that, where I'm like, are you kidding me? And I made you, Brockman, read out every name from Spurgeon Wynn to Tim Couch to everything, saying, is that where you want to go back?
Right.
Then Baker comes back. They lose to the Steelers. And we're all wondering what the hell's going on with them. They wax the eventual AFC North champion Bengals. And that was their path to the playoffs. That was their best path to the playoffs, which was to finish up strong and then sweep the Bengals and maybe put that wild card, that tiebreaker card on the table. Problem is, they could not beat the Patriots if their life depended on it in that Week 10 game. They barely beat Detroit.
Right.
They lose to Baltimore, have a bye week, come back, beat Baltimore, and then COVID hits. The game gets pushed, but not in time for Baker Mayfield to come back. They lose to Vegas, even though Big Nick Mullins gave them the lead late. They lost with the defense as a whole slumped at the end of that game with Derek Carr. Pulled that out of his you-know-what. Followed up by the game that you heard Myles Garrett just say was a bad game for Baker. 4 interceptions against Green Bay. And they're eliminated with 2 to play. Their coach got knocked out due to COVID. All sorts of injuries. The defense looked weird in the first couple months of the season. By weird, I mean just inconsistent and poor. The whole Odell can't play for us anymore. What a catch he had to save the bacon for the Rams yesterday with his fingertips on a 4th down grab that followed up with a touchdown grab for the Rams. Why didn't that happen in Cleveland? Is it Baker? Is it Stefanski? Well, these are all questions that are going to be answered, and it would behoove them to finish up strong. It'd be much better. What a season for the Browns. Step back, unfortunately. But they can finish up by sending Big Ben out in front of the terrible towel-waving fans wanting to say farewell to him. And they could send him out by quieting him down. And then beat the Bengals just to say we should have won this division anyway. It's possible.
Possible.
Can't wait to watch it. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.